Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with Golden Opportunities Coaching. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you seasoned veterans of what we do around here. There's a lot of things we do around here. We try to give psychological, emotional, coaching related topics in a discernible, easy to follow, and fun, engaging way. We've got over 400 of those. Variety of topics. Variety is the spice of life, after all. Hopefully, there's something you like. Please subscribe, like, comment below. If we can get to 1,000 subscribers, we can start giving some money to charity, and that would really set my heart aflutter because, well, the idea of being able to serve people in that way would excite me. Anyway, today we're going to talk about hidden intelligence. Everybody knows a smart person, right? But do you know anyone who's smarter than they think they are? Do you know anyone who's smarter than you think you are? And or do you have hidden intelligence you might not be tapping into? What are some signs of a hidden intelligent person? So, if you are trying to find your best strengths, also coaching can be helpful in that, and kind of do a strengths assessment and a weakness blind spot assessment can be helpful too, just so you have a more holistic and complete view of yourself. That can be super helpful. And so, if you want to do that, reach out to me on Twitter at PO Perception or the About Me section here on YouTube. There is my website. You can go there, find more information, and kind of get things going that way. But we're going to talk about kind of, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or so, 8 or 9 different ways of kind of hidden intelligence, ways you can find it. So the more humorous a person is, natural humor, not planned jokes from a book of puns, but natural humor that comes out of nowhere and is spontaneous, that's a sign of intelligence because it shows the ability to move and react and respond to interactive nature. And so the more interactive a person is, the more quick they are, especially with humor, and being able to see things from other perspectives and then turn it into something that benefits others, the more intelligent they are because they're having to use different areas of the brain than a person who might be more reserved or whatever the case may be. A high level of empathy is another sign of intelligence. Relatability on an emotional level speaks to the ability to connect things between the lines, so to speak. And so the more a person can read inference, both from logical, tactical conversations and from emotionally based conversations, the more intelligent they are. The world is won and lost in shades of gray. I don't remember where I read that quote, but I think it's one of the most valuable quotes I've ever read because the more stuck one is in this is right, this is wrong, and there's no deviation, the harder it's going to be to relate to people and situations that are outside of those norm boundaries that a person expects to experience. A night owl, believe it or not, is a person who tends to be more intelligent. This is because they tend to be more focused during the night. Therefore, a focused person is more likely to expand their mind, and also is more likely to tap into the part of the brain that deals with problem solving, new ideas, creativity. Whereas a person who follows the prescribed schedule, the wake up at 7 in the morning, go to bed at 10 at night, and we're just kind of in a routine, they are more comfortable and confident with things they know, not pushing their own boundaries, which means there is, to a degree, some limitation with how far they can go. A person who's highly intelligent also is going to have a mind for details. They may plan out conversations or reactions or situations, blueprint kind of how life events are going to go, how a work environment is going to go, how a speech is going to go for days or even weeks in advance. These are individuals who are looking more at the big picture first, but then kind of living through the reactive of what could go wrong and coming up with solutions before they get into the situation. The more solution-oriented a person is, and the more variety they give to potential cha- uh, challenges, the harder it is for them to be caught off guard. Therefore, it's a sign of intelligence to be flexible and able to kind of plan details and be in that way, because it means they're more adaptable and responsive rather than rigid. Um, it can be difficult for highly intelligent people to find partnership because where the emotional connection for a lower intelligence or moderate intelligence person is based on societal normalcy, a higher intelligence person is more likely to seek out complete and true compatibility, and also they may be so goal orientated that maintaining a partnership can be difficult because they don't crave the closeness as often or as consistently as someone who is of, let's say, moderate average intelligence. Now, that doesn't mean that average intelligence people can't have meaningful relationships, and or that highly intelligent people can't have them, but the pool of partner to find for a highly intelligent person, generally speaking, is going to be smaller than for an average intelligence person. Remember, the finding of attraction and the nature to think about trying to solve one's partner, figure them out, and remain stimulated can be a challenge too. In other words, for average to lower intelligence people, relationships are more reactionary. For a highly intelligent person, it's almost like a Rubik's Cube. I'm trying to solve you, but the problem is once I've solved you, I get bored, and that can create problems on an emotional and physical intimacy level. The next thing is, do you live in organized chaos? In other words, it looks like it's a mess, whether it be your room, your desk, your junk drawer, or whatever. But you can find things pretty quickly, so it only takes you a couple minutes. So someone else might walk in and go, "Ooh, this is a mess. You haven't cleaned it up in months." And you go, "Yeah, I know, but I know where everything is because I have a system." The ability to compartmentalize things into a system, physical things and emotional things and mental things too, into a system that wouldn't make sense to anyone but you, as a sign of intelligence. This is because you can make correlations and relationships where other people wouldn't. Where the organizational skills can be beneficial in some areas, being able to find solutions in chaos is a life skill that is beneficial regardless of who you are or what you're facing. Um, so, believe it or not, highly intelligent people are more likely to procrastinate. This is because they are kind of thinking about in longer form the wider scope of things. They're thinking about how something is going to play out. They're thinking about all the details. They're thinking about ways to prevent problems. They're thinking about ways to respond to problems that are unexpected. And so all that thinking, all that planning, all that the kind of multifaceted 360 view makes a person tired, and then they put it off. But the focus that they put into planning everything out beforehand means they can come from behind at the last minute. These are the folks that might have a 5-page paper due, and they write the paper at the last minute. I can remember when I was in broadcasting, and my producer, who was a brilliant guy but needed a lot more prep time than I did. I was the type of person who liked improv, who liked value of conversation and just having literally trigger sentences to get myself from transition points. If we had 4 segments, I wanted maybe 6 to 8 sentences to get me from point A to point B to point C to point D. But my broadcast partners, and I had, let's see, probably about 5 of them, all wanted more prep time than I did. And I was just like, I can't work that way. But I would spend literally about 10 minutes before showtime prepping, and everyone else would spend anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours, and I'm sitting there going, how do you do that? It takes all the fun out of it, and I would check out. But what is interesting is I was scouted at a national level because I had the ability to land on my feet and come from behind. And so that's just an example of how that works. There are people that are better with improv because they think about other things in a wider way, and they don't necessarily need to plan because they know they can be resilient. The next thing is language. So the wider a variety, the wider a way a person can say the same thing. Gee, it's raining outside. Is not as creative as, there's a bunch of water coming from the sky. The universe is deciding to make sure plants grow. You're saying the same things, but you're saying them in different ways. The more phraseology that people use and vocabulary people use, the more intelligent they are, and the more they kind of can relate to people. You have to be able to speak to people in the way they understand. So if I have a client who, for example, is they come from the gang life, I'm going to talk to them with language that they understand. I have clients that are in some Ivy League school graduates. In those roles, I don't use gangster language. Big surprise. So it's finding the language that's relatable to the person in front of you. And then the last one, and probably, at least in my estimation, the biggest sign of intelligence is the willingness to learn new things and the understanding that learning is a never-ending process. Years ago, there was an entertainer who'd been entertaining for about 50 years. I had the opportunity to sit down with him in a room full of about half a dozen people and himself, and I asked him, what's the biggest advice you would give to someone who wants to make it in the entertainment world? And he said, the minute you stop learning, retire the next day. And here's a guy who'd been around for 50 years. I said, why? He said, because the minute you think that there's nothing left to learn, you've already made yourself obsolete. And I think that was one of the best pieces of advice that I was ever given. So hopefully this audio has been helpful. We'll be back again tomorrow with some great stuff. But please like, subscribe, comment below, all that good stuff. And until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment.